Everyone, it's Martin Shkreli here, and I'm doing a clinical trial analysis. I know a lot of you folks have asked, how do you look at a clinical trial, study a clinical trial, determine whether or not a clinical trial is going to work or fail. And I thought I'd pick Axovant's upcoming interberdine clinical trial and show you from start to finish how I would come up with a decision. So this video is going to be a little bit unlike some of the others in that it'll be very long. It'll be multi-part. I don't know when I'm going to start, stop. I might stop to go do something personal in nature, pick up a phone, check a website. At the end of it, I'm going to do an abridged version where I kind of just go over the work product that we made in the extended version. So hopefully that'll be somewhat useful for you guys. I know there's a lot of questions about Axovant. The name of the company is Axovant. Without further ado, let's get started here. So I made an Excel sheet. We call this a model, and sometimes it's not so much about the financial model as much as it is about just a place to keep details about the drug, details about the medicine and the trial, and making sure that we get everything. So there's nothing. There's nothing in this file quite yet. The drug's called interberdine. So you're going to see me fill out this file, and I'll upload the file when I'm done. Indication is, of course, Alzheimer's disease. The clinical trial is a phase 3 clinical trial, also known as kind of the pivotal last big clinical trial. The economics are that they owe GSK a little bit of money and or royalties. There's some intellectual property which we'll go through, and I think maybe we'll put in mechanism of action, which is a 5-HT6 antagonist. We'll eventually look at nilotanserin because we have to understand what the value of both of these drugs is if we're going to trade the stock. So I'm going to go into Bloomberg, but there's a lot of ways to do this, and when possible, I'm going to try to use as much open source kind of tools as possible, so sec.gov and so forth. So maybe let's go to Axovant stock price, which is probably a good start, and the stock's at $20. Okay, and the next place to go is maybe the SEC's website. We'll get some basic understanding of the company's financials. Specifically the number of shares outstanding. So there's 107 million shares outstanding or so, 107.525925, which is about the same as it was in Q1. And so if there's 100 million shares of something and each share is $20, that's about $2 billion. That should make sense to anyone who's ever bought multiple things of something that has a price per unit. The price per unit's 20 or so, and there's about 100 or so million of them. So it's about $2.2 billion for the whole company. And let's see. They have some cash, of course, which comes with the company. And so they have $297 million. That's a little bit more than before. Maybe they did an offering or something. I'm not sure. We'll look at that in a second. They owe their, parent or partner or something $4.4 million, and they have $51.7 million in debt. All right, so that's the current financials. So the so-called enterprise value is about the same as the market cap. It's about $2 billion. So what we're dealing with is a $2 billion company. And for those of you who don't know, who are living under a rock, this drug, interberdine, is a potential drug for Alzheimer's disease, and the results from this phase 3 test, or clinical trial is maybe the right way to say it, will be released in the next few weeks. And depending on whether they're good or bad, the stock will either go up, it'll either go up, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe it could go to 60 or 80 or 100, or it'll go down. It could go down to close to nothing. It could go down to $5 a share easily. So from 20 to 5 or 20 to 100, we'll see what happens. I did just list something for sale, so I'm kind of curious how it's doing. It looks like there are some people interested in what I'm selling here. Let me just take 2 seconds to to do this. Sorry to interrupt. All right. Anyway. So let's make a new sheet for Inteperdine. I think I got that right. Inteperdine. And the way I like to do this, I've evolved this format over many, many years. I think it's a pretty good format as I do this sort of tab format, almost like, if you guys know databases, it's a sort of like a NoSQL database or a JSON database. So it's just a document, and it allows me to just sort of type freely, but it's still a little bit structured. So you'll see how I do it in a second. So this is stuff that I just know from memory, but I'll sort of show you step by step how to learn this stuff. Obviously, you hear a little bit about the company and a little bit about the drugs, but I want to make sure that you guys see how to do this from scratch. And you can sort of take that from a meta perspective. Well, how do I know to look for companies like Axovant who have clinical trials upcoming? And I'll actually cover that as well. But if we start from scratch, one of the best ways to go is the company's website. It's probably axovant.com. Let's try that. There it is, axovant.com. So they have all the perfunctory nonsense on the website, but the first place that I like to go to is press releases. And so on press releases, I think it makes sense to read as many of the press releases as you can. This is a relatively new company, so you can actually read all of them pretty easily, and we'll probably do that. I don't know if we'll do it all in one sitting tonight, but we will read all the press releases in this video series at least. I like to make a point of having read every single one of them, especially if I'm going ham, as they like to say, on a company. So I'll even print them out and put them in a folder and check mark that I checked all of them and stuff like this. So it depends on really how crazy you want to go. But one of the reasons you do it this way is so that as you read them, you're putting the information into your model. So we can actually start from scratch, maybe just because I want to show you guys how to do this from scratch. We can really start from scratch all over again. And this can be sort of like a template of sorts. And again, you'll see sort of my method as I go on. But if I assuming from scratch that I know that I want to look at Axovant, how would I go about looking at it? Well, the first press release, and what is a press release? Well, a press release is, in essence, companies have sort of grown to have this convention where companies decide that they will disseminate information simultaneously to the public, and they do this via a so-called press release. And the press release is nothing more than sort of a document that you type up. I've written many, many of them in my life. And you broadcast them through one of really two sources. One is called Business Wire, and the other one's called PR Newswire. And this company uses PR Newswire. But one of the two you pick and you send out. So in any event, you read all of those press releases, and I think you get a very good sense for what the company at least wants the public to know. Then the SEC filings are sort of similar. They're a little bit more regulatory in nature, so you sort of want both of those, I'd say. So let's start here. It says Axovant to move stock exchange listing to NASDAQ. This isn't really too relevant. Ticker symbol to remain AXON. So they're just deciding that they want to go from the New York Stock Exchange to NASDAQ. And NASDAQ is a great fit for Axovant, as it is home for leading biotech companies, and we're honored to now be among them. From a listing perspective, we believe this move will enhance our visibility while offering efficient access to a portfolio of opportunities for our shareholders. I'm not really sure what that means. While offering efficient access to a portfolio, okay. We were proud to have Axovant join our family of companies. We're excited to have to be Axovant's strategic partner and help support them. Okay, great. So anyway, that is what it is. But there's other information here that's kind of important. So you have the CEO, who's David Hung, and Dr. Hung has been pretty important entrepreneur in biotech. I think he's pretty smart, actually. And then you've got two people here, Jonathan Neely. Jonathan Neely, who you can write down, is the investor relations. And it's kind of nice to have the email too, so I'm going to write that down. Jonathan.Neely at axovant.com. And I think we can even send him an email during this process. So Nina Berry, this is media. So Nina.Berry at axovant.com. All right, great. So we've got all of that. So let's read the second one. Axovant announces first quarter financial results and corporate updates. Well, any quarterly report is going to be really important. So the last press release wasn't really important, but I should also mention that I noticed that the Basel, Switzerland headquarters is a little strange, because I'm pretty sure David Hung doesn't live there, but you know, we'll look into that. All right, so Axovant today announced financial results for its 3 months ended June 30th. Strong balance sheet with $297.9 million in cash. So again, we got that from the SEC filing, and I would encourage you not to take the financials from the press releases. So I think you should take them from the SEC filing. So we'll ignore anything like that. Completed enrollment, and let's say again, you came from Mars and you don't know anything about this company at all. So completed enrollment in Headway DLB clinical study of etepridine. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, we know that there's a drug called etepridine, so let's put that in. Etepridine, and let's link it to a sheet called etepridine. So I like to put all my basic stuff on the front page, and then I put the detailed stuff on each drug's specific page, and I even make subpages from that. So there's a lot to do there. Completed enrollment in Headway DLB. So sometimes you name a clinical trial, so we'll call that Headway DLB. That's the name of the clinical trial, and it's for dementia with Lewy bodies, or so-called Lewy body dementia. So we'll put that down in indication. You could write disease if you want. I like the formal word indication. So Lewy, I think it's maybe just L-E-W-Y. Yeah, Lewy body dementia. Dementia. There we go. And the drug, of course, is etepridine. All right, so we know at least that they have a clinical trial for etepridine and Lewy body dementia. Presented new preclinical data which suggests that etepridine may have neuroprotective properties against vascular injury and neuronal metabolic dysfunction. Okay. Again, my expertise is that this is irrelevant, but I don't mind putting preclinical data. So let's see. Neuroprotective is a very silly sort of phrase, neuroprotective property against, but if it's against vascular injury, that makes sense, since vascular injury does occur in, say, stroke, and there's a sort of a part of the damage of stroke is intrinsic and comes from the body's response to the stroke, so keep that in mind. And, okay, so against vascular injury and neuronal metabolic dysfunction. Again, this is sort of a buzzword concept, but, you know, I'll write it down, and I'm going to note where I got this from. So I'm going to say Q2 17 press release, just in case I want to look at that further. Okay. Announced U.S. FDA granted fast-track designation to nilotanserin. Okay, so that sounds like a second drug, so let's write that down. Nilotanserin. And here an indication we can write Lewy body dementia. Okay, that works. Nilotanserin, fast-track designation to nilotanserin for the treatment of visual hallucinations disorder in Lewy body dementia. So I guess they say DLB, which is dementia with Lewy bodies, but I think most people say Lewy body dementia still, although they would, I think, know better than I would. I like Lewy body dementia, so I'm going to write it that way, but let's keep that in mind. All right, so this is nilotanserin, right? Nilotanserin, brand name, generic name, nilotanserin, right? Nilotanserin. All right, great. So again, we'll make the links. Okay, Anticipate last patient visit in August in the Mindset Phase 3 clinical study of interberdine. So I think that's the study we're going to be focusing on, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Mindset. Phase 3 Mindset. We don't know that that's the Alzheimer's study quite yet from this press release, but that's fine. This is a very exciting time for Axovan as we expect top-line results from 5 late-stage clinical studies over the next several months. If successful, we believe that 3 of these studies, Mindset, Headway, and the REM Behavior Disorder Study. So he did mention that Headway is a phase 3, so we'll write that in. So you can see the method is just taking documents, taking information from documents, putting them in, and then we'll synthesize them in a second. The REM Behavior Disorder Study, whatever that is, could potentially serve as pivotal studies and may, if approved, lead to new treatment options for people impacted by Alzheimer's disease and Lewy body dementia. Okay, so he says Lewy body dementia, even though they say the dementia with Lewy bodies over there. For the first fiscal quarter ended June 30, 2017, R&D expenses were $43.7 million, so maybe it makes sense now to make a model. We won't belabor this because most of the values in these clinical assets, but I think it is important to make some kind of model. Yeah, with respect to the album, I'm pretty upset that they're making a new album, and that's the reason that I'm frustrated. Anyway, let's see. Again, I suggest that you don't take financials from the press release. I would take them from the SEC filings, so I think that's fine. We can wait for that. Development update. Interberdine, nilotanserin, RVT-103, and RVT-104 are being developed as potential treatments for patients with Alzheimer's disease and Lewy body dementia. All right, so let's add in. And I should mention that I have no preconceived notions as to whether or not this clinical trial will fail or succeed. So we're really going to both learn from scratch here. The company expects top-line results from the following late-stage clinical studies. Mindset, a phase 3 study of interberdine in patients with mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so let's do that. Interberdine. Okay. So Mindset, phase 3 Mindset in mild to moderate Alzheimer's. All right, we're going to look into that really carefully. All the patients are on a stable background of donepezil, which is Aricept. So patients, so we say sort of inclusion criteria, stable dose of donepezil. Expected timing, last patient visit in August, followed by results in late September. So last patient visit, August 2017, results late September 2017. So this is coming up pretty soon. So at this point, again, I want to analyze the whole press release, and it's almost over, so maybe let's just go through that. Headway, they're calling a phase 2B study. Well, they called it a phase 3 study a second ago. I'm not going to belabor that. It's not a big deal, but it's sort of interesting. Expected timing, 4th quarter of 17. Okay, so results, Q4 17. And I actually kind of like on the front page to do it like this, Q4 17. Headway, phase 2B, maybe Headway, put that way. Headway results. And then let's say September 2017. I am recording this mindset results. Let's say phase 3 mindset results for interberdine. And that's the big one we're waiting for, right? If that study works, that'd be great for the company. If it doesn't work, it would not be so great for the company. So it looks like they have a gait and balance study in various different illnesses, which is kind of interesting. So they're doing, gait means walking, basically the manner of your walking, which is often impaired. let's see. ADDLB, PPD, Parkinson's disease dementia, PDD. All right, phase 2 study evaluating needletanserin for patients with LBD who experience frequent visual hallucinations. Okay, this is different from Headway. I'm going to move that a little bit lower there. We're going to study mindset really carefully. In fact, we should make a separate page just for mindset. So again, all of this you can get from just translating, in essence, from this press release. So let's add that second phase 2 DLB. They're saying results in Q4 17. So basically, the reason this is different is the DLB visual hallucination study. Phase 2 study evaluating needletanserin in the treatment of REM behavior disorder in subjects. So this is DLB as well. And again, they called it phase 3, but it sounds like a phase 2. It's a little frustrating. But again, mindset's the real big study that we're going to be focused on. Right? Okay. Additionally, events relating to the company's investigational products were announced in June as follows. Recruitment for the phase 2B Headway DLB study completed in June, with 269 subjects randomized. So let's put that in there. N equals 269. Fast track we know about. Fast track destination is really kind of unimportant. Results of proof of concept study of RVT-103 was disclosed. The company's registration of RVT-103 initiated a proof of concept study for RVT-104. Great. All right, the company presented new data at the AAIC in London. So I like to write that kind of thing down. AAIC. Was it removed? That's frustrating. What the heck? I'm trying to sell my product. Maybe I'll do Amazon.com. All right, let's keep going. Integrity may have neuroprotective properties against vascular injury and neuronal metabolic dysfunction. We looked at that. In the animal study used in this study, interbreeding demonstrated neuroprotective effects under hypoxic and hypoglycemic conditions. And an array of, in an in vitro assay of mixed cortical neuron cultures at clinically relevant concentrations, specifically when pre-treated with interbreeding, decrease in LDH. A surrogate marker of cell death was observed in MCN cultures exposed to oxygen and glucose deprivation. All right. Okay, great. So that's not too important. Here's the financials, which again we can get from the SEC filing. I don't think in vitro data is too important usually, but we'll kind of talk about that in more detail. So that one press release gave us a lot to go on. So one of the things that I would do before I move on to the next press release is I'd go to the clinicaltrials.gov entry for the clinical trial. All clinical trials have to be sort of registered on clinicaltrials.gov. Oops, I misspelled interpreting. There we go. And so you got to find the entry, and here's the entry for the Mindset clinical trial. It used to be called RVT 101, and I believe it had a name before that as well. So we'll go through that in a second, but we see RVT 101, so I'm just going to pretend like I don't know anything about this company whatsoever. And I would, again, want to read from top to bottom and try to get this thing done. So they first received this record on October 22nd, 2015, which is pretty important. So let's go to our Mindset page. Clinical trials, first record. (10/22/15). Okay. And we'll look at the history of changes, which will be somewhat important. It's a phase 3 clinical trial of RVT and placebo. So the study seeks to confirm a demonstrated treatment effect of RVT-101 as an adjunctive therapy, which means an add-on therapy, to donepezil for the treatment of subjects with Alzheimer's disease. Interventional allocation randomized, intervention model parallel assignment. Masking is quadruple masking. So if we had double blind, it's quadruple blind. Primary purpose is treatment, randomized study of RVT-101 versus placebo. Maybe we'll say interventions, RVT-101, placebo. I'm sorry, interberdine. You think I should relist the album? That would be funny. (1,315 patients. Wow. That is a big study. So the most important thing in any clinical trial is the primary outcome, or primary endpoint. Because I have no feedback, you think? All right, so there are two primary endpoints, which is a little uncommon. So here we have change in ADAS-Cog11, which is an Alzheimer's clinical trial endpoint at 24 weeks. And let's see, change in ADCS-ADL at 24 weeks. And so in a primary endpoint, when you have two primary endpoints, there's several ways to treat the statistics of that, and usually one primary endpoint is what you do. So this will be a little bit unusual. This will be a little bit unusual as far as that goes. Let's see, eBay. Your eBay account is temporarily restricted. To verify your account, click here. Also very hungry. All right, I want to do this first, so maybe I'll relist it tomorrow. All right, so the secondary endpoints really don't matter too much. We'll write them down really quickly here, but they really don't matter. Global impression of change, neuropsychiatry inventory, EQ, 5D, visual analog scale, whatever that is, and of course any safety issues. It said the study started in October 2015, but they're saying the estimated completion date is October 2017, but they've told us that it'll be sooner, a little sooner than that. So, and we know it's a 35 milligram QD oral dose. I'm going to say QDPO. And placebo is matched. There's an SPA with the FDA, which is somewhat helpful, but not too helpful. Basically, the SPA is an agreement with the FDA that your protocol would be approved if the primary endpoint the study meets its primary endpoint. So eligibility is pretty important. So say enrollment or inclusion criteria. Ages 50 to 85. Ongoing AD treated with donepezil. Very interesting here. The MMSE of 12 to 24 inclusive. Very interesting.